Going to college can be one of the most exciting times in a young person's life. It's often the first time you're stepping out on your own to conquer the big wide world and come back home a smarter, more experienced, and more mature individual. It's a place full of young, hopeful people who aim to one day change the world for the better and inspire the next generation to follow in their footsteps as we all work towards a better future for humanity. At least until you finally get your grade back on your first midterm and start to question your entire existence. The 4 years you spend in college can be both some of the most rewarding and challenging times of your life. From dealing with irrational professors who hate their lives and want you to hate yours too, to making memories and friendships that will last a lifetime. The college experience is a unique time in your life that you will remember forever. Not because of all of the fun memories, but because student loan companies will be sure to send you a monthly reminder. One of the most interesting things about college is dealing with professors. In high school, you often had teachers who were directly invested in your success and constantly stayed on top of you to make sure that you wouldn't fail. However, if you've ever had a tenured professor, you'll find that they care even less about the class than you do. In fact, half the time, they can't even be bothered to show up. When I was a freshman, this had me concerned because it meant that personal accountability completely fell on my own shoulders, and if I missed any assignments, then I wouldn't be allowed to make them up. But I quickly found out that if you just email the professor, explain the situation, and say that you're willing to accept partial credit, you'll find that their due dates are really more of a suggestion. Be advised that this largely depends on the kind of professor that you have, so please try this at your own risk. Now, one mistake I see a lot of people make is refusing to attend classes in the first week of the semester. And I can understand why some people might do this because the first week is usually just going over the syllabus and awkward icebreakers where you stand up in front of the class, say your name, where you're from, and a fun fact about yourself, which is really just an exercise in who can come up with the most creative lie. The reason I recommend going during the first week is to scope out the class and see if the professor has either a mandatory attendance policy or a no electronics policy. That way, if they have either, I still have time to drop the class and look for a professor who isn't so desperate for my attention. Another mistake a lot of people make when going to college is coming in with a bunch of expectations and preconceived notions. You'll often find that a lot of things that you heard about college turn out to not be true at all. Like the idea that all of your classes will be difficult, or that God will still let you into heaven because you went on a mission trip to Jamaica. The reality is that college is a brand new experience and the opportunity to discover new things about yourself. And because of that, a lot of people like to try and reinvent themselves during their freshman year. While trying on a completely different personality when you get around a bunch of new people is generally frowned upon, I honestly think that this is okay. Most people tend to think that a person who completely changes everything about themselves when they get to college is deeply insecure, but we all know that they just hate when a white boy got swag. The important thing to remember is to always keep an open mind to new opportunities because you never know where they'll take you. I remember during my first week on campus, a guy invited me to a game of Capture the Flag with a bunch of his friends. And I was a little nervous because he was a complete stranger and I had never played Capture the Flag before, but I agreed to it anyway. And when I showed up, he introduced me to the entire group and everyone was extremely friendly and welcomed me in like one of their own. And that's when I realized that I was being inducted into a cult. One of the best parts about college is meeting people and making new friends. And this can be a big source of anxiety for a lot of people as they leave their hometown and step into an environment where they don't know anyone. But in my experience, making friends in college is actually as easy as just being in the same place as another person. For example, I made a lot of friends playing pickup basketball at the school gym because when you're black, everyone assumes you're basically LeBron. Unfortunately, those friendships didn't last very long as my teammates quickly learned a valuable lesson about stereotypes. Another good way of meeting people in college is to get involved in one of the many clubs and organizations available at your school. Just about anybody can start a club, so even if you don't find one that suits your interests, you can always make your own. One of the things I did in college was student government. And student government is great because it gives you a chance to serve on behalf of the student body and allows emotionally neglected children to finally feel important for once. The main point is that making friends can seem hard, but it's really just about putting yourself out there. Even at smaller schools, there are tons of communities full of students who probably share a lot of the same interests as you, and I'm sure that as long as you're being your authentic self, they'd love to have you. College is also a time when most people can expect to have a lot more sex. Unfortunately, I'm not like most people. The reality is that just like with making friends, having relations with the members of your preferred sex is also a matter of putting yourself out there. Or I guess putting yourself in there. So you can probably expect to get lucky a few times as long as you don't spend all your Friday nights playing Fortnite in your dorm. College is also when a lot of young adults experience their first serious relationship. Because now that you're an adult, you can do things with your significant other like move in together, sleep in the same bed, and when the lights go out, you guessed it, send each other TikToks. Some people come into college with the expectation that they'll meet the love of their life and that they'll be engaged by the time they graduate. And while this is the reality for some, most of us would be lucky to even get a text back from that one girl in women's studies. So try not to put too much pressure on yourself and focus on making genuine connections with great people. Now, some people say that colleges and universities are institutions for liberal indoctrination. And I think that's interesting because I had never been called the N-word with a hard R until I became a student at the University of Georgia. So if you're afraid that you won't fit in on a college campus because of your racist beliefs, you can just go to UGA. A big part of college is deciding what you want to major in. And this can be one of the more stressful decisions as you only have about 3 semesters of gen ed before you have to commit to some sort of career path. Now this happens in one of 2 ways. 1, you consider your own personal strengths and interests and decide upon a major that you feel suits you best. Or 2, you get your grade back on your first coding assignment and realize that computer science wasn't worth the money anyway. The big thing to remember is that your major doesn't define you. So it's important to not compare yourself to other students with different career choices. A great way to figure out if a career path is right for you is to talk to someone who's actually working in the field you're considering. I remember when I was thinking about going to law school, I reached out to an alum of my university who was currently working as a lawyer, and I asked him, "Hey man, is going to law school really worth it?" To which he responded, "Nope." Picking a major is one of the biggest decisions you'll make in college, but it's nothing to be afraid of. While finding the path that's right for you is important, always remember that if it doesn't work out, you can always change it. Besides, if you're like most people, you won't be using your degree anyway. Parties are also something a lot of people look forward to in college. It's a great way to meet people outside of the classroom, and while I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, it can be fun to get together with your friends and have a night out on the town. Drinking culture can also be a difficult thing to navigate in college because if you're like me and didn't drink until you were 21, you might feel a bit out of place at parties where everyone is drinking alcohol. This is completely normal, and you can still have a fun night without drinking by going home and playing Fortnite. Whenever someone asks me what my favorite part about college was, I rarely ever mention anything about going to class. That's because I never went. But the reality is that while colleges are academic institutions, the most important lessons you learn are usually the ones that happen outside the classroom. Whether that be gaining valuable work experience through an internship, doing some much needed community service, or learning how to shotgun a beer. The most important lesson to learn in college is establishing balance in your life. Don't party too hard, but also don't get so caught up in your studies that you miss out on having fun. Remember that everyone's moving at their own pace, so don't compare yourself to others and stay focused on your own goals. Take breaks when you're stressed and make sure you have a solid group of friends you can count on. Also, try to eat a vegetable and go to the gym every now and then too. I remember showing up for a midterm in one of my classes, and when I asked for my copy of the exam, the professor had no clue who I was. At first, I was kind of offended by this, but then I realized that the last time he saw me was in August, and it was currently the end of October. So if someone like me can graduate in 4 years doing the absolute bare minimum in the classroom, you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and drop a comment down below if there's something you want to see me talk about next. As always, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.